Just tell me when you're ready.
Ready?
Good evening. I'd like to call the Pownal Select Board meeting for December 11th to order tonight. On the agenda, we have agenda approval of the minutes for 12/4, warrants, mail, old business, Michael George from the Emergency Shelter Protocol, Mike Batcher from the BCRC, and adopt a SWIP resolution and appoint a committee representative. And in new business tonight, we have the town insurance, a representative from the VLCT, and in personnel, we have a transfer station supervisor applicants. So what's your pleasure on this, gentlemen?
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good bill.
Approval of the minutes for 12/4.
So moved. Second.
Second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Warrants, we have 2 warrants this week. Payroll in the amount of $8,219.63. And our second warrant tonight is in the amount of $15,192.85. The big expenditure there was to the town of Shasberry for the hazardous household waste of $2,500. Looking for a motion on the warrants.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. In the mail tonight, it's rather light. We have a letter from the BCRC in regards to the Regional Commission in their Brownfields property, the redevelopment program. It's quite a lengthy letter. To meet this application deadline, we'll need to have the support of letters. They're looking for a letter of support to the BCRC no later than Friday, January 10th on that. And we also have a job proposal from one of our local contractors here in the amount of $535 to repair holes in and around the foundation of the existing building which we're in tonight. Heavy-duty galvanized wire screening to be attached on the inside of crawl space, fill any small remaining holes and openings with spray foam, repair broken and damaged clapboards on the side of the building, add 15-pound felt paper, and underlayment where necessary to apply clapboard siding, etc. So we have that as well in the mail. Okay, what's your pleasure on this? Any discussion?
I think it's something we need to take care of. It's winter time now. We need to keep the building as warm as possible and eliminate the rodent issue.
Okay. Go ahead, Henry.
Well, are you making a motion on that?
Just discussion on.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just wondering if we wanted to make a motion.
I assume we would like to have a motion on this because none of us here work in this building full time, but there are some here that do, and I think the sooner we can remedy these small problems, the better off everybody would be.
Make a motion, we take care of it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to expenditure of $535 to make some repairs to the town hall.
I'll second that.
Second it. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
No.
What?
Discuss it.
Oh, well, I thought we did discuss it.
Well,
We make the motion first.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you for that correction, Mr. Besson.
Yeah.
Would you like to discuss anything here on that? No? No discussion?
Well, the only thing I've got to say about it is something that we probably should have gotten done throughout the summer and so on. Just always something else kept coming up. And matter of fact, me and Jason both looked at it earlier this summer, and whether we dragged our feet and didn't get this project moving or what, but, we waited too long, so I think we should move and get it done.
Okay.
Okay.
Also included in that
I just wanted
is
to be for sure.
the removal of some broken gutters, metal gutters that need to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is also in here that are a safety hazard, the old metal gutters
Right.
and downspouts.
All right.
Removal.
So I just wanted to make that
Okay.
statement that, this was not just something that was it was something that we should have done and, we should have brought it
Right.
to your attention.
Okay, so we have
we
a
did.
motion and a
Second.
second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. That is our mail.
Could we go back to the letter of support? from the
Yes,
BCR?
the BCRC is looking for a letter of support for the, this letter's being written in support of the Bennington County Regional Commission's 2014 EPA Brownsfield Assessment Grant application. We have done this in the past, if I'm not mistaken, and I guess I'm looking for a motion to continue with this, with the brownfields.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
The only question I had was, I don't know anything about it. Just to make it simple.
The BCRC is trying to assist us with the assessment of the PCBs down at the dam site.
Okay, got it. Very good. That's good. I wasn't sure what it was
yeah,
about.
we have supported this in the past.
Yeah.
The
So,
letter's prepared.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. So,
So moved.
so move, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So I can sign this.
I think we discussed that before, Linda, and I could just, for some reason, I couldn't get it together here. Thanks.
Linda, do you want this?
You just-
Okay. Great. Okay, old business, Mr. Mike George. You are first up here with the EMC, the Emergency Shelter Protocol. If you could come on up here and share a microphone or something here.
Just grab
I guess what we had run into before was the fact that if during a storm, we know that if there's an emergency in town, that you are going to coordinate for people getting flooded out, numerous people getting flooded out, et cetera. But what do we do in the situation where there's a small family or a couple of small families? What is the protocol when it's not the masses or a larger population in town? I guess we need to know what the protocol is for one or two families. What do we do?
In years past, as being in the fire department a couple times, it's not considered shelter at that point. It's considered a warming house.
A warming house.
A warming house.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? There's nothing there, only warming. You come in and get warm, that's it. Shelter, there's beds, there's everything else.
Okay.
If need to be, then we can go and make it emergency situation and become a shelter. But the firehouse right now is just, if we had to, we'd open it up as a warming house. I mean, and after reading this letter, this is the only one I know about, and I talked to a couple of people on it, and they agree with me that for one person to come to a warming, we'll call it a shelter, to come, now you're talking 3-4 people to get this open, okay? And apparently it was a medical thing. I'm not going to care for somebody that's on medical. I mean, he just came home from the hospital and found an issue. Best thing you do is call the ambulance and go back up to the hospital. I mean, that's my opinion. If somebody needs a warming station, if they're getting cold or something, you know, and they need to come down and get warm, they can call the firehouse, the non-emergency number. If it's open, somebody will answer it. If not, then they have to go through the chains, and the worst thing you can do is call the emergency number. Then somebody will be activated.
Where does the Red Cross fit into this?
Emergency situations.
Just emergency situations. So
Pretty much.
okay.
That's the Red Cross emergency shelter.
So I guess if I and correct me if I'm wrong if I had to sum this up, if there is a person or a family that needs a warming shelter,
Right.
the firehouse is an option provided they can
Right.
get a hold of somebody to open up the firehouse.
Right.
Okay.
That's what it has been in years past. And a power outage, you know, you're looking at 5-6 hours. I think unless it's
Well, that
20,
depends
30 below.
because I've been without
Yeah.
power in this town as much as a week too.
Well, if you
So-
take and turn the clock back to the October 4th storm years ago, that was an emergency situation. The shelters were open.
Okay.
And that's where the fine line comes in. You know, just powder outage, like week and a half, where this all, if it got a little chilly, you know, one thing to remember is, I think Jason backed me up on this one, the firehouses are not kept at 70, 75 degrees 24/7.
Sure.
So to leave your house, it might be down to 60. To come to the firehouse, it might be down to 50, 55.
Right.
You better be pretty cold.
You better be pretty cold. And if it's 20, 30 below zero and we lose our power, well, yeah, something to be done right away. At 40 degrees, I really didn't see no issue.
Okay.
And like I said, if
Well, if I can chime in a little bit, some of the things you might want to also think about is how do you let people know the procedure you just mentioned? Because I'm not sure. I happen to talk to Walter, so I know some of the situation. But how he asked me, well, how would he know? And I said, well, you really need to talk to the town. The town has to have some way of saying, okay, this is the conditions under which we open a shelter, and this is whether or not the shelter's, like, how would he know if the shelter's open?
Mhm.
You know, that, so there's,
as I
it's
said,
not just an issue of whether or not it's cold enough or whatever. It's how would you inform your citizens that this option is available? And one of the things you might want to look into, we brought some cards, is there's this organization called 211, and you can let them know, and people can just call them up and find out whether that's in other words, you've made the decision to open the shelter.
Mhm.
That way, if there's nobody here at the town hall because it's after hours, they can learn that too, and they can also learn about the warming shelter too. So see what I'm getting at? The issue is like, how do you let people know?
I think there's a fine, I'm not sure if it's a fine line, but even 40 degrees, you have an elderly couple or an elderly person or someone that's possibly has a medical condition, that is a big, 40 degrees is a big,
yeah.
is
But now, if they have a medical condition, I'm not being responsible for them. I'll
Well,
open the
I
place,
don't
but I'm
think
not
you're-
going to care for them.
I don't think
course. I don't
anybody's
I'm not
think
medical
asking you-
I
certified.
don't think anybody's looking for care, we're just
Yeah.
looking for clarification
Right.
on what
Like I
the
said,
procedure
warm
is.
place.
Right. If they feel they need, they can call the firehouse, not emergency. If it's open, you know someone will answer it. If not, you call the emergency number and have them dispatched.
Well, you may want to consult with the Red Cross too, because if there's a Red Cross shelter and it's opened by the Red Cross, then they're responsible,
Right. But
and you're not.
right.
So it's that's one of the reasons you have Red Cross shelters is because they accept the responsibility and the liability. I gather your fire station is not a Red Cross shelter.
No, the
No.
school is.
The school is.
Right.
If you're not
But
gonna open the
then-
Fire station is not staffed.
No, that's it. So
right.
we'd have to bring in 3, 4 volunteers to look after it.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that that might be another way of reducing your responsibility and liability is to,
Yeah.
because the Red Cross basically staffs it.
Right. That's well.
But most important thing I guess I'm trying to get across is how do you let people know?
Right.
So
That's
that
basically.
they understand
Well,
it's an
well,
option.
that's the whole question. That is the
Right,
question.
how do we let people know when you've
That's the
lost
first I heard
power?
of this.
Right, right.
Yeah, well,
So that's a start right there, right?
Right.
If the town has lost power and somebody is in the need of shelter, I guess what we need is a protocol of steps to follow.
Mhm.
Not that we're responsible, but we have a responsibility
Yep.
to that person that for some reason needs to get into a warmer atmosphere than they are at home or have at home. I guess we have to develop a protocol, I would say. Would you agree? Or
Yes, absolutely.
as to should the town administrator or any town employee here get that call, that they have a protocol in place, and I think that we should work with Jason, you, and Mike on developing that protocol.
Don't we already have that spelled out in our plan?
Not really. Emergency situations, yes.
Again, I think we're
The
talking.
first one's the school.
I think we're talking about a small number of people versus a section of community that could be involved with 50 to 100 to 200 people or whatever. We're talking about a very small nucleus of people here that might need assistance, and I think we need a protocol. We know how to handle the bigger situations. We don't know how to handle the little ones. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I think that's what it comes down to.
If they call the non-emergency number first in both firehouses, and if nobody answers, and they really need a shelter, well, next thing is the emergency number.
Well, what about the rescue squad building?
No.
I don't think you. I think and I'm not going to speak on behalf of all the departments in our town here,
down
but
there.
it's probably something we need to sit down with.
Yeah.
With our fire departments and our rescue squad,
Okay.
and
I think
try
they
to
all.
figure out
I
a
think,
way.
I
Start
think
taking over for the state?
Sorry?
What are we gonna do? Start taking over for the state and
No,
federal
we're talking
government?
about taking care of our own townspeople that need it in the town.
Well, I don't think that should be down into a little basket. I'm sorry, I don't. Most of the people I know in this town, they know somebody, so if they're that has a wood stove, or they can go over there. They got neighbors, they got
Then why
friends.
did we have this gentleman come to the town looking
That's
for
right,
help?
one.
That's
Now, see, I don't want to be the hard guy here, but you know what? I can't see how we can babysit everybody for everything. They got 911. If you're in trouble, call 911. I'm sure they'll give you some information. As far as this town picking this stuff up, I don't know where this money's coming from. I don't know where the volunteers are coming from. We're lucky we got enough volunteers to run these fire departments as it is. Never
Well,
mind
Ronnie,
open up
again, I don't
shelters.
think we're talking about having volunteers on a weekly basis. This may happen once,
Okay.
twice a
okay.
year.
Go back to school.
Well, no,
Sorry.
I'm just, you want to have a debate, let's
I,
debate it.
I did. I said my piece. Now
And-
go
and
ahead.
I'm saying mine.
I'll throw
well,
it out.
I'm gonna back Ronnie up on that. I was in the fire department 20 years, been out 10 years, so that's 30 years, and I think the firehouse was used once, and that was the October 4th storm. Other than emergency situations. I mean,
So then as a town, we don't have any responsibility toward it. It's just forget it.
is it our
Look, when
responsibility?
they
Power
had
went
the
out?
floods down there in the trailer park, we stood up as a town and tried to help the people. We did everything possible. We got the Red Cross down to the Pownal Firehouse. They opened it up. They had meals and everything else. Nobody showed up. They were underwater down there. Okay? They had friends, neighbors, whatever. They didn't want to leave their place. I mean, I think we're starting to get into the real nanny thing here.
Okay.
That's what I
Does the
think.
board agree with that?
Well, I think the answer is whether we need it or whether we don't. Since there's a debate, why don't we get the people that we know could possibly step forward? That is the fire department. That is the.
But I think we have
Right.
that representation.
Well, we have the fire
here.
departments here, but we don't have the rescue squad here. But if everybody gets together, we'll know.
Well,
The only thing we're after right now is a number for someone to call.
Right, I just gave
And
that.
you just gave
The
that.
non-emergency numbers for firehouse, and
Okay.
nobody answers, then you go to the 911.
And then
They will
okay,
dispatch
all right,
us.
So that.
So that's the protocol then.
So that's the protocol. I
Okay.
mean, all right.
Because if we ain't got no power, you ain't getting no hold of me. Not on the phone.
so Linda, do you basically have that for a protocol now? It's either you call the non-emergency fire department number, no answer, you call 911, and after that, that's all we can offer.
And as far as, I'll clarify this as the rescue squad is concerned, they're pretty much completely off limits
Mhm.
to putting people in there.
Yeah, because they have
because of the
medications.
meds.
Right,
Oh, okay.
right.
Oh, okay.
right.
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
For us,
But as long as it's answered, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so basically we have the protocol in place, and that's it,
first check.
right?
And I'll look into this more, and
Okay.
like I said,
I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt. I don't know, Linda. How much do you know about this emergency 211?
I've never called it.
Okay, so maybe we could do a little research on that too and make that a third option. Okay.
You can actually just call that and they can talk to you.
Yeah.
You'll get a person.
Okay?
And that might be the number one.
Right, it
Yeah,
may
you know,
be.
down the road, it
I
might
don't
be.
know. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at least we have
But-
something in place that if somebody calls the town office during operating hours and they can say, here's what you can do.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, but
Do
like
you have
a-
a, do
I
you have a
think
tape
Bill's
machine?
got something to offer.
People call now, would they get a tape?
Answering machine?
Could they get the same message, like if you have an emergency, call 911 or?
I suppose if people set their phones up.
No, I mean-
Well, the phone would have to be set up
Yeah,
here.
I mean, that might be something to think about too. If it's after hours and you have a message that says, if this is an emergency call. Or just what you said, if you need a shelter,
think
call
that-
the regular number. If
The,
not,
the
call
hard thing
911.
is, there needs to be a
Yeah.
clarification of what's an emergency and what isn't, because you may look at it as an emergency where we may, where someone else may not. You know,
No,
if
but I
it-
think in this case, Walter didn't even think to call 911. If he had called, maybe he would have, oh yeah, I should have done that. So that might be just a simple solution, is have it on your tape machine. You probably have it on your website when you develop that. And that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right. right,
Bill, do you have
right.
anything
And
to
we
add to
have a
this?
website now, so that-
Yeah, but I
that's being
think
worked
you're-
on.
it's
So
Why don't you
that's great.
pull right on up here so people can see? Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I'll stick around for-
Just a little bit about 211, is that 211 is basically, any Vermonter can call it, but the intake isn't necessarily, there's somebody sitting there 24/7, 365. What it is intake and referral to the proper
Right.
state department. So you might be calling about an agency of human services, the Department of Motor Vehicles, just public safety, go right down the line. That intake this is basically run as a program out of the University of Vermont, and it's also a consumer complaint number. It's very important for us to be gathering information on where the problems are. But it's not going to get immediate action. It would usually, often, is that you'll be directed like to a written statement that would be through a website or whatever. So it's not like you're imagining here, I don't think,
Right.
that you call up and all of a sudden somebody will
live
call
person,
somebody and the
right.
door will open at the fire
Oh, I didn't
department.
mean that. I meant that might be a place where
Yeah.
the town
The-
could let,
the answer,
at least
I
let
think.
someone know that the shelter's open. Because if they call here, they wouldn't get that if it's after hours.
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would work.
It's worth looking into.
The other thing I would note for you is that there are two things that this rings a bell for me, is that the American Red Cross, and I was talking to their executive director, maybe it was even last spring or something, and they've been very interested in going around to all the towns and sitting down with the select boards and hearing about these solutions and trying to find the best way to take care of these problems, whether they are a larger group or if you brought to them a smaller group. And I would say that that would be a really very good resource to you, in that this has been a program that they have put in place and been wanting to do. They also are very interested in working with other organizations. For instance, your churches. Your churches often have community rooms or so as possible resources that would be either supplemental or preferable or maybe not to fire departments, etc. And when you think about it, those are actually spaces, and those are groups that would naturally be interested in this kind of, human outreach. So I would think of then. Locally, the group that does help with that people ought to be aware of, is the Interfaith Food and Fuel Fund, which is a consortium of all of those folks, which is really the safety net below the safety net. And that often have referred to people, often in a case where they've just plain run out of the ability to heat their house until the next check comes in or so. And they are very stringent guidelines, but that is another resource, for people. And so perhaps those also are things, but I would definitely say that listening to the Red Cross or letting them know that you would welcome exploring this with them at if you had time in your agenda, it could really get you in the place where you aren't taking, like Ronnie says, on a responsibility you can't afford or you can't do, but at the same time, not turning your back on anybody in this town.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, we
Okay.
appreciate that.
But again, we have a plan, we have a written plan right now. Okay, on emergencies and, okay. So that's something we should, when we have time, we should all familiarize ourselves with, and
Basically, when the shelter's open, And then emergency, once emergency has been declared. And the school's first.
Who declares that?
Almost anybody can. I can. The state of Vermont can.
Okay.
If like trailer park's getting washed out, that's a state of emergency.
Okay.
That's emergency. It's not a state emergency. It's emergency.
Alrighty.
Now back on this here, how do you decipher? Okay, he came home with no power, which is no heat. Like Bill was just saying, somebody runs out of oil in the middle of the night. I ain't getting up, coming down up from the firehouse up because somebody ran out of oil. I don't consider that an emergency. I'm afraid that's stupidity. Once again, there's that fine line.
Well, okay. I think we have a good handle on it then. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay, we did the adoption of the SWIFT resolution. And that brings us to new business and town insurance.
No, you gotta back up.
Do my resolution now.
Oh, I thought we did that.
No.
The first guy on there was Mike George. Now this is Mike
Yep.
Thatcher.
Okay, sorry, got the wrong mic. Okay, Mike Bratcher from the BCRC to adopt the SWIFT resolution and appoint committee representative.
Yeah, so basically, I think I talked about this last time. We're putting together a plan that Pownal, along with 12 other towns, will be part of. It's to update your current SWIP, given the new standards. And so I need you to appoint someone to the planning committee. And also, we're at least discussing and possibly working towards what would in essence be an interlocal contract between the 13 towns to implement the SWIP. So that's basically what this committee is doing, is working on the plan. And if we go with this idea of an alliance, they would develop the contract that they would bring back to you. Those are the two parts. You're not committing to anything other than appointing someone to work these issues out on your behalf. Come back to you and explain them.
For the town of Pownal.
Yes.
Right.
Well, on the 12 other towns, we have 12 other
Right,
representatives.
right, along with that.
Yeah.
Okay. We appointed Megan Randall as our representative,
BCRC.
BCRC representative from the town of Pownal.
Or the BCRC.
Right.
So
okay.
now you're appointing her to
Now
this
you're
committee,
appointing
yeah.
her to something else.
Okay. I'd like to find out if she would be interested in taking this.
Oh, she came to my first meeting. In fact, I actually thought,
Charity went to a meeting.
Yeah.
that's why-
Okay. So then I
that's why
guess
we're where we are.
I have
we need a motion.
did she know she was being
I think
appointed as a
Nelson-
commissioner?
Nelson spoke with
I-
her.
Okay.
That's right, the last
That-
meeting.
That's what
Right,
he said last night.
right. So I'm looking for a motion to appoint Megan Randall as our committee representative.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Did she agree to this,
I believe,
or are we guessing?
She went to a meeting
so-
and she replied
To a
back.
meeting, that's right.
So,
I realize that.
Well, when she spoke to me, Nelson had talked to her about joining the committee, and we had a long conversation on the phone. And she was very interested in it, and then she did come to a meeting. I didn't realize she was also being appointed as a commissioner, but I'm pretty sure she was.
Well, that was the first thing, was the commissioner, and I'm not so sure that, I don't wanna appoint this lady for something she don't want.
Well, she can always turn it
She'll
down.
let you know.
Wow. We don't have to appoint her until we, first of all,
Okay.
this, what's this for? So we do the state's work?
What are you
As long
pointing
as
at?
you're here.
What are you
I mean,
pointing? I'm sorry. What are you pointing at?
This SWIP program.
Oh. Yeah, you're doing the state's work.
We're doing the state's work, right? These 13, we're gonna get 13 members from different towns.
The state passed a
And
law.
we're gonna, the state says, okay, here's the law, you figure out how to work it.
No, they passed a law and they set a series of standards. And they've said that those organizations that manage solid waste have to meet those standards. In much of the state of Vermont, we have what are called solid waste districts, which are basically like school districts. They're, in essence, government entities, and they manage solid waste. Where we don't have that, we have towns. In other words, you're responsible for managing solid waste. Town of Pownal, town of Bennington, Arlington, by law, that's your responsibility.
So
I
the
just
SWIP
wanted it.
is,
I don't care how you guys do it or what you do.
I don't
I
do it.
just
I'm
wanted
just,
it
I'm
out
helping.
on the air.
I'm-
Here we are, the state stuffed this down our throat, and now we gotta go ahead and try to make a compliance
Yes,
for something. That's all I wanted to say.
right.
I mean, it's, to me, if the state had an idea of where they were going, they would set up all these guidelines. We wouldn't have to do that. They'd say, look, this is what you gotta do, folks. They'd probably all get voted out of office. But that would be the proper way, rather than, or if they wanted to research, that's fine too. If they said, look, we want a person from every town to bring in a bunch of suggestions to see how we can do this. I could understand that. But the way they're doing it, I don't get it. I
Well-
didn't go to school long enough, I guess.
Well, partly you're dealing with the way I'm doing things, in which by law, the commission is responsible to help you, the towns, develop this plan. We have to do that. The only way I can figure out how to do that is to get representatives from each town in a room and work with them to say, what do we want, well, how do you want to do this? Because you have certain standards you have to conform to. If I just sit in a room and write you a plan, that's not going to help you much. You have to, because ultimately you have to adopt it. Not BCRC. BCRC is not responsible for any of this stuff. We don't do anything. We're just helping you do what you need to do to comply with the law. I realize you may not like the law. I got that. I can't help you with that. All I can do is help us.
Surprised that you're grasped at that sort of.
Yeah, it's starting to sink in. But, you know,
But the
if you
thing-
don't want to do the plan, that's another option. The town of Pownal could say, we're not going to do this plan. You could do that. That's your option too. But the state will then, there'll be consequences to that. And I can't tell you what they'll be because I don't know. I don't work for the state. I work for
I can't
BCRC.
see how the state could give you consequences if they don't know what they want.
Well, no, they've been
But
pretty
that's only
clear.
my
They've been
opinion.
pretty clear what they want.
All right,
They-
so now
they-
you're gonna take 13 people and they're gonna toss it around. So in other words, it's like you got 13 animals in a pen, you're gonna train them. And once they're all trained, well, here you go. Now this is what you do. Because it's, we're developing plans and we're picking out, there's 13 towns here. All the towns gonna have the same plan? Throughout the whole state? It should be. Don't you think?
no,
You
they're-
think up there up next to the Canadian border, they should have a different deal than us? I don't think so. You're the state. If you're gonna pass a law, it's just like, you go 55. You don't go 55 up in Norfolk.
You
or
should run for the
wherever. You go
legislature.
55 down here.
You should run for the legislature. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ronnie, did you get a chance to go through this?
Did I get a chance? No.
Okay. I think you should probably take a look at it and see, because I think a lot of it is based on your population and how much waste you're actually generating. To me, it makes sense to have 13 towns work collectively to come up with a solution or a plan than to try to do it by yourself.
That's
I
pretty
didn't
much
say
what the
try
other.
to do it by ourselves.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the other towns
I
have
was thinking
included.
that
It'd be
if
more expensive for them to do it by
If the
themselves.
state wanted a program, they want you to do something. If you go get a driver's license,
Well, they-
everybody has to take the same test.
That's
You don't take a different test than I do.
Right, but they've said they have the laws are set in place. What's going to happen right up through 2016? I mean, what's going to change each year? What we can accept, what we can't, what we have to provide, and what we don't. I think you should probably take a look at it if you get a chance.
Well, let's get back to whether we want to just appoint this person or
Yes.
do we want to ask
Why don't we
if she
ask,
will accept the nomination, or
well, I guess
or however you want
if
to deal with
somebody
this,
wants to
Mr. Chairman.
make that motion,
I don't care how we do it. I'm asking the chairman.
why don't we ask first? I think that would be the polite and
Okay,
correct
I
thing
think
to do.
Ronnie made a point to that, and so let's ask.
So can we have a motion by one of you?
I move that we will ask
Megan
If she
Rand?
wants the
Megan
job.
Randall if she is
Yeah.
interested in this position. Very close enough.
Very good.
Okay,
Um,
and if so, she's appointed.
okay.
No,
If she-
I actually need a signed resolution back from you guys. So
Yeah. which we will.
For my records, I need.
Which we will do that.
Okay,
As
well, I'll
soon
leave
as
it
she's
with you,
not,
and then you
am I
can.
doing that correctly?
Have a motion, a
Isn't that
second?
name supposed to be in that resolution?
It is in the resolution.
It's in the resolution
Yeah.
already, so.
Yeah.
That's how you have to make your motion. You already have a motion on the floor previous to that, so do you wanna withdraw that?
Yes. So who made that
Ray
motion?
Wright, Henry
I did.
Jason.
Do you wanna withdraw your first motion?
I'll withdraw that because it was a question. Okay, not that and we'll move on this, at our next meeting, if it's possible. Okay, am I doing that right? Okay.
Is that gonna fit in your?
Will
Oh,
that,
yeah, that
will
works.
that be all right?
Yeah, that's fine. We're not meeting.
Okay, I
our
just
group isn't
wanna-
meeting until January, so
Okay.
so somebody.
I understood that, Nelson, and you were here, I believe.
Yeah, he had talked to her, and then she
That's
talked
right,
to
and
me.
she had agreed,
Yeah.
to all this, but.
Yeah, she had called me
let's just be
after.
Sure, right, I mean, it was a concern, I think we should deal with that.
Okay, Linda, could you please read the motion back to us?
To ask Megan Randall if she wishes to be a committee representative for the swell.
Okay. So it's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think we've kind of hashed this out pretty well.
We discussed it a little bit.
All those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye.
very good,
All right.
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Anything else you need from BCRC? Any other BCRC related questions while I'm sitting here? Or
I think I'm good. Ron, you have any questions? You good?
You might tell
Or
them
do you
about
wanna
your,
even
you
visit
might tell them about your
hazard mitigation?
invitation to lunch,
my what?
the invitation.
All right,
from
let's move
BCRC
to
come.
new business.
Well,
It might have been something.
Was there something? Okay.
well, that's right. We are having a Christmas party next Friday. Is that what you meant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're inviting everybody, you ought to let
Come to
them
our
know.
office next Friday. Was it 12 to 2? I think.
Next
Christmas party.
Friday,
Yeah.
12 to 2.
There'll be food.
Oh, sure, everybody's working then. That's great.
Well, you get out at 12, rush
Why'd you
right
make it
over.
5 to
How's
7?
that, Right?
I'm not the boss. Well, the other thing, I guess, yeah, Linda did bring up that I talked to you all before about having someone from the select board on our hazard mitigation planning committee. Anybody volunteer yet, or have any ideas of
Ronnie?
Ron?
Be interested in?
Ronnie, I tell you,
Hazard mitigation?
Yeah.
you would be good at it, honest to God.
You have the full backing of us.
See that?
I move Ron. I think Ron would be great. I do.
All right, we
And
have
I'm not
a, we
making
have a
joke of
motion
it.
on the floor to appoint Selectman Ronnie Besson to the board. What board was that? The solid waste mitigation?
Yeah,
Yeah, the hazard mitigation.
Hazard.
hazard, yes, sir.
Hazardous waste mitigation.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
There's no waste involved.
So
there's
no waste?
No waste in this one.
No,
No,
no waste.
No,
No,
But-
planning for disaster.
but it's a planning,
Yes, planning for
right.
Can we have any discussion on this?
all right.
All right. All those in favor say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
That was the 3-year term, right?
Yeah.
That's a 3-year
Oh,
term.
we should be done
10-year
in
term.
a little bit sooner than that, hopefully. All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
you, Mike.
Thanks for coming in.
Mike, you wanna leave the resolution for this board
Oh,
for
sure. I'll
next
leave it.
week?
I'll leave them with you. You want me to? Get both copies.
Yeah, then I'm gonna leave it with him for,
Yes.
he's gonna be taking care of that next week.
I hope you all have a happy holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you very much, you too.
Good
Thanks
night.
for coming. New business, town insurance. We have two representatives here tonight. From the VLCT, Larry Smith, and from Will's Insurance, we have Mr. Dave Newell. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Who would like to present first?
Well, I'll go first if you want.
Okay. We have currently been with VCLT, excuse me, for the last year.
6 months. Yep.
6 months, right, 6 months. And I guess what I'd like to do at this point is open it up to the board do you have any questions regarding our current insurance or anything related to that?
Has anything changed from the original, coverage-wise, from the original proposal?
No.
Okay.
No, there's no changes. The programs that I went over back in June are still gonna be in effect for, starting next year. The board did approve the grant and the scholarship program again for next year.
Okay.
So that will be there, as well as Heidi's Work Strong program. That's going forward as well. So there's no coverage changes or anything like that.
Okay. And the scholarship, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, that's if you wanted to send, say, somebody away for training, we'll pay up to $500 for that individual, which could include their meals, their travel, hotel, or expenses.
Okay.
So, if you wanted to bring somebody here to give some type of particular training, would pay up to $2,500 for group training.
Has the town in the last 6 months used any of the training through the VLCT?
You have Wade Mashur, who's your loss control representative. He came here. He gave the road crew some flagger training, and he also went through the building and did an inspection. And then out of that inspection, he'll send a letter, which he did, of his findings and any recommendations that he would recommend.
Okay.
And I have a copy of that if you want it here, but that
No.
was done, I think in September. we did that.
Ronnie, do you have any questions?
So did we get that
haven't had
copy
any.
of that letter, the inspection letter?
I think Casey did. Casey has it, yes. Yes, it's on file in Casey's files.
So there may be some things in that inspection letter that you would see that you could potentially apply for the grant, if there's anything in there that,
I think he already
That-
took care of. They were all small items,
yeah, okay.
pretty much, and they were all taken care of. Those were items that he noted in some of his road reports.
Henry, do you have any questions?
I don't. I went over it, 6 months ago.
And when does our coverage run out? January
January.
January 1st?
December 31st, January
Okay.
1st.
So, there was a part here with the fire departments on updated rosters. Did we do that on the first 6 months? Yes, we did. Okay.
With difficulties.
Okay. Okay.
The only thing that I'll say on the grant program, again, it is going to be still around next year. There's $200,000 set aside for municipalities to use. That's been going pretty fast the past few years. So if there's something that you're thinking you want to get the grant or apply for the grant, I would definitely try to get it in the beginning of the year.
Just remember, the fire departments aren't eligible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think we cover the workers' comp on the fire.
Right. The fire department is with has the Vermont State Firefighters Association.
BFIS. Is it BFIS?
No.
No.
No, that's an underwriter for the insurance, but the State Firefighters Association has access to funds now for training.
Okay.
Those are available. I think it's a similar program.
Yeah.
With BLCT, are we covered, I don't know, earthquake, flood, anything like that? And if so, how much?
Yep. You have it's a
I didn't-
it's $1,000 deductible for both, so earthquake and flood. $1,000 deductible, and it's a
For $1,000 for earthquake? That seems like unbelievable.
$1,000 deductible
That's very low,
with a $10 million.
because I had earthquake insurance,
Yeah.
and my deductible for a house was like $25,000, and I was like,
And most carriers, for both earthquake and flood, it's usually a $25,000 deductible, or some I've seen as high as $50,000. And it's usually a 1 million per occurrence with a 3 million aggregate. And, the coverage you have here is a $1,000 deductible with a 10 million.
Okay. Anything, Ron?
No, I figured if these fellows were trying to sell insurance, they'd tell me which one was better. Tell me what you know, for the money. Or
Well, I
I will say that, not to interrupt
Go ahead.
you, if you don't mind. You know, the passive program has been around for quite some time. We do insure most of the municipalities in the state. When I say most, about 95% of the municipalities. There are small, you know, less than 10 municipalities in the state that we don't insure. But we have been around for some time. It's a program that's really specific to the municipality, so it's really the coverage is set up specifically to protect the municipality.
Well, we had a couple of issues before we were talking about, and we said, well, why don't we run it by the league? Whatever happened there? Don't anybody recall that?
insurance issues?
No, those are legal issues using
Is it?
the
Didn't you have something to do with
referral
legal?
service. The
A
Yes,
referral
and that's still going to
service.
be around next year. So hopefully you got a satisfact. You know, if you used it, that it worked out well. I'm talking the EPL assistance program.
So there was an issue with difficulty in breaking it down into budgets. Now that that's been done, is that going to make it any easier?
No, it hasn't been done.
It hasn't been done.
Now we would have to change the way we do it.
Okay. But once we make that change, we'd be.
If there's a way that you want the bill, if it's
I
different than
have a lot of problem with your billing,
okay.
and they actually had me have to do the proration myself. We have limited resources and staff.
Yeah.
And I feel the league put a lot of extra work on a smaller municipality that just is understaffed. That's my opinion.
So they weren't able to give you a bill, or were they able to?
Oh, I got my bill,
Yeah, but not
but we
your.
have a different budgeting.
Okay.
We're just structured, we're a municipality that's just structured different.
Certainly want it different.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, does the league at this point cover or look into the risks that are involved with cybersecurity and cyber attacks, considering the amount of information that towns hold and the vulnerabilities there? Is that part of any of your products?
It is. I'm not sure what the coverage is off the top of my head. It is something new and that we have looked at. I know there was a program, I gotta say it was 2 or 3 years ago.
That seems like a lot of work.
Added to the coverage document. Right off the top of my head, I don't know what the coverage is for that, but definitely.
But I think what you're saying is the town does have
Yes.
coverage.
Yes.
Should somebody hack in and steal everybody's private information, and they could call it. Right, okay. That's good to know.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, unless you have any other questions.
Mr. Newell, how are you tonight?
Thank you, Rich.
Come on, I'm gonna ask you to step up here and grab a microphone or...
Block the
I'll switch.
TV.
I'll switch with you. You can see.
Appreciate the opportunity to address the board again on this subject. I think Linda may have circulated our bid to you already. If not, I have it here again. If you want to see that again.
I'd like to see it.
All right. Let me give you all that.
I didn't see it. Wait a minute. Oh, yes, I do have it. I'm sorry. I do have it.
looks like that. I'm glad to provide that for you, gentlemen, if you don't have this. We handled the town's insurance for 20 plus years, and as you all know, decided to transfer to the league's program on July 1st. One of the issues was the liability limit. We're now able to quote for you a 5 and a 10 million umbrella, which we did not have previously. And if you're all looking at our quote, which Ron is, this one looks right here. We're including in that our total there, the 10 million umbrella. If you decided to take a 5 million umbrella, it would revise that down by about $3,900 if you wanted to do that. So that's the message there. So that level of liability coverage is available through our program. Otherwise, the coverage is the same as we'd had for you before. I'm glad to review that, but you may not want to go through these details this evening. Answering your question, Bill, our product does now carry a $50,000 liability and response expense coverage for data compromise. That's included in the bid that I'd given you. You could raise those limits if you'd like to, but that would assist the town for liability as well as response expense for data compromise to the town's information system. That's included. I thought I'd take the liberty, and Linda handed out a document, and I'm going to do it again for you. And the gentleman from the league certainly is welcome to chime in as well on this. Regarding perhaps some things you should consider as you're comparing these two products. Linda mentioned staff time. My opinion is that it's a burden on the staff at times to comply with the league requirements on reporting and documentation. You can talk to Linda about that either now or later, but I do recognize the fact that the town staff is limited, and we do take some pride in being able to provide the breakdowns and do some of the work for the staff, which we've been doing for a long time. We have an excellent relationship with the town staff, and I think that might be worth consideration, which is point 1 that I've given you there on the sheet. Number 2, I reviewed the workers' comp payrolls with Linda. What we have in our proposal is what was on your audit last time. So you may want to look pretty close at those payrolls. It's located on page 7 of my proposal, but that will have some impact on the workers' compensation premium. But we did use what we felt was accurate, which was the audit that Linda had produced the year before. So you may want to take a look at that. We do include one policy for all town employees as well as the firemen. You do have 2 policies with the league, one for the firemen and one for everybody else. With us, all the coverage is on one policy for town employees plus the firemen. Number 3, answering the question Rich brought up, we do have a $1 million limit for earthquake and flood. Our deductibles are higher, however. It's $50,000 for flood, $25,000 for earthquake. Our property extension includes some surface water coverage and backup of sewers and drains and that kind of thing, and that's subject to the $1,000 deductible on the property. Number 4, I mentioned the data compromise coverage we now have available to you. I don't think we have the new dump truck on our quote, so if you're interested in us refining, we're happy to put that on and give you a new number. I can review those, the vehicles, Linda, and make sure we have the right ones. And the vehicles in our proposal are on page 4 and 5.
Isn't that, wouldn't we be covered under like a fleet insurance? I mean, we have so many vehicles. I'm just asking this as a question.
You have to add, every time you add or delete a vehicle.
Yeah, we do add it specifically, Rich, and take them off.
Okay.
And,
Would that be the same for you? Say, like a fleet insurance? So the new dump truck is not also in this one either? We have a brand new dump truck that was delivered today.
If it's brand new, then.
So that's not on here too. I just want to make sure we're leveling the playing field here.
Okay.
Okay?
We can revise, of course, to put it on. Number 6, I mentioned the excess liability. We now can offer you the 10 million limit of liability coverage. That provides excess liability over your general liability, the auto liability, workers' comp employer's liability, public officials is important for you folks, employment practices, and law enforcement. It gives you access over all of that coverage. This is not a huge point, but number 7, we do not have a deductible on general liability claims. The league's product does not have a deductible during the defense phase of liability, I believe, but if there is a general liability claim paid on behalf of the town, there is a $1,000 deductible. You may want to correct me if I'm wrong on that. We have no deductible for general liability claims, number 7. Number 8, we do include pollution coverage. You might want to ask the league what they do cover in this regard. We do exclude the transfer station, the landfill, but otherwise we do cover pollution townwide otherwise with a $1 million limit per occurrence in aggregate, number 8. Number 9, which I do think is pretty important, we do include $1 million, which is also covered by your excess policy on uninsured motorist coverage. So our auto uninsured motorist is $1 million, and it's also, and what's excess over that is the 10 or 5 million umbrella if you take that. If the town guys are driving during a business day and they're hit by a teenager who has no insurance or someone who has very low limits of insurance, this could be an important situation for the town. And we do offer full uninsured motorist coverage up to your umbrella limit for that, for folks who have no insurance or are not insured enough for folks driving the town vehicles. I think the league's cap on that is $250,000. You may want to correct me on that.
I'm not 100%.
Okay, I believe that that's correct. We do have loss prevention services available upon request, number 10. Number 11, I do acknowledge that the league's grant programs and the wellness activities they have, the hotline, which you just mentioned before I came on, and perhaps drug testing and other services are not available through our program. You know, that is available to the league insureds. And number 12, I'm hoping again that our timely service means something to the town and our history with the town. And again, I'll stress perhaps the assistance we can offer the town staff to make this insurance product less burdensome on them from a time standpoint. So those are some points I wanted you to consider. I'm happy to answer questions. You have our quote, the option of the 10 or 5 million umbrella. Anything we can help answer?
You've insured us for many years, and I don't know, I don't recall any problems of it, and the only thing I'm looking here is I'm trying to figure out how much the premium is for VLCT.
For the year?
Yeah. Okay. And why can got papers all over the place here. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Any questions from the board on this, gentlemen? Is this something that we have to decide tonight, or should we discuss it?
Well, I think we've got a member missing here, and I don't think that.
I don't think we should make a decision either without a full board.
Right.
I have one more question for the league. So we have taken advantage of some training.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wade came out and did flagger training for everybody on the road crew.
Okay. And the grants, as far as the safety grants, have we taken advantage of any of that?
I know you originally applied for, but it was on the fire side for the, not the safety grant, but the passive grant. And since we don't cover the fire department's property, only on the workers' comp, and we didn't
Okay.
pay for that.
There are differences. There are differences between the two coverages, obviously. I guess my big question is, I don't want to bog any more of, I don't want to bog any of employees. I guess I'm speaking of Linda. I don't know why it should be so difficult if the Vermont League of Cities and Towns deals with so many towns that why isn't it a streamlined process, I guess, where you shouldn't have to request a different billing and you know, why isn't that streamlined? I guess, I'm not expecting you to answer it.
Yeah,
Versus dealing.
It's because we budget differently. Like you would have to change some ways we budget, because we have a tendency in our budgets to break a lot of things down for individual departments, whereas maybe another town, can be all lumped into one line that says this is town
Insurance.
But we don't do it that way, so we would have to make some internal changes.
Okay. That answers that.
better have, I mean, I'm sure you've already worked with Vicky, but she might be able to do your bill every year how you want it, as long as she knows how you want it.
I mean, one other thing I'll say, and it's just my opinion, and you can take it or leave it, but there's always been a big push, and I'm sure if anybody knows this, most of you businessmen sitting at this table do, is to buy local, because when you buy local, you support families, you support money in the community, etc. So I just want to make that, I think that's an important point to consider also, is to consider the locality too. And we have a local businessman here, and I'm not slighting the VLCT. I don't mean to, but I think Mr. Newell has provided us with pretty good service through many years of this town. And that's all I want to say. Ronnie, you have anything?
It came down before and talked about this. This program when we signed up. These prices can also be a little different, correct? These prices can be a little different if things perform well or whatever.
Correct.
Across the state or what have you. I mean, you know, I suppose it could go up too, right? But it could be less.
Yeah,
Was I hearing that right before?
Every year we look at how you perform as a particular town.
Right.
And we apply credits or debits based on that, based on whether you had any claims, whether you didn't have any claims, what your workers' comp experience is, and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the price that you have there takes that into consideration.
Okay. And there was one other thing that was brought up before. It was something about a liaison between the town and Vermont League of Cities and Towns. What's that mean? Yeah. Or was that just a floater?
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, you know, if we want to contact, you need a liaison between the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and we never appointed one. I never heard of such a thing, but I was curious if you required such a thing as that, or what?
No, I mean.
Okay, just some of the questions I had.
Yeah, when we came and presented last time, I gave you a hint of policies, which was all of the different states. And again, to go to a local, we are all Vermont. Our claims staff is in Vermont. We're in Montclair. Loss control, all in Montclair. Your loss control rep right here in Springfield.
But I don't consider that local. I consider Montpelier, I don't consider local, nor do I consider Springfield local. If you would have said Bennington, I would have said, okay, that's local. But
the agent is local, but where he's getting the insurance is not.
I realize that, but it's also service. It's also, and believe me, I've had to deal with insurance companies, and please understand.
No, I understand what you're saying.
It could be, it could be a frustrating thing, or you can call a local 447 number, 442 number, and talk to a person who is familiar with exactly what you have and exactly the situation, etc. And it's difficult enough to deal with insurance companies, let alone when they're far away.
Right.
Okay, and again, I think you have a valid wonderful program. I think each one of you offers something the other doesn't. I think this is an extremely difficult decision. I don't think it just comes down to dollars and cents. I think it comes down to service. I think it comes down to many things here. Of course, dollars and cents are important, but you know, you both offer a valuable product, and I think we're just trying. I'm just trying to make the best decision I can on behalf of the taxpayer. Henry, anything?
Well, I guess the only thing I heard so far tonight is Linda seems to be having problems with the billing.
That
I
could be
think
our own problem.
on behalf of that being brought up, I would like to just say that whatever they are, I think it's up to your agency to help get that corrected. That's very simple.
And it could be our own internal problem, as Linda said.
Or advise us.
Right.
You know, what the way our budget is put together, we're getting ready to do that. So, I mean, we can correct that if it need be. But I guess I just as soon put it over onto you. All right? I mean, if it can be, if it's something that you're not doing, I think we need to know. We need to know as a board. Okay?
I can talk to our underwriting department tomorrow. And
Okay? Right.
reach out
All
to
right?
them.
Because that's, and I think that we need to make a move on this, and probably within very few days.
Move on
You
it
know what I'm
probably
saying?
next week.
Next week, that'd be fine.
We have to.
We have to, okay.
Okay.
So that's, and that makes sense. So with that, we should answer that question. I mean, that was a concern, okay? I thought it was a very strong concern. Okay, right, very good.
Jason?
I asked my questions. I agree with Henry that we need a full board here.
Yeah,
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank both of you for coming down here tonight. Larry and Dave, you know, you both made valid presentations here tonight. And I think you'll understand the position of the board when I say we'd like to have a full board here. And I'd prefer not to sit in that seat. I'd prefer to sit over there. And
you would. Don't
and
listen.
I'm sure Nelson wants to give his input. That's important.
Yeah,
Well,
it
it's
is.
very important because
It
you
is.
did it on the last,
Yeah.
on the last round.
And I don't think we're dissatisfied with the coverage we've had in the last 6 months. If it was, I think you would have heard about it. But you heard my soapbox speech on that. So we're going to convene with the full board, and we will let you know.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
you both.
Appreciate it. And the next point of business we have here, I believe, is the personnel transfer station supervisors applications. And those are right here. On executive.
Yes.
So I will take a,
I just have one quick thing to
I'm
notice
sorry.
tonight. We need to have that lock on the front door changed to a one that you can open from inside without a key. That's something we need to have changed right away.
because basically it's a deadbolt and you have to have a key to unlock it. And that's not,
So if we can add that to Warren's list, or however we want to take,
Lock company that does that, Adams.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Right, they come right out, don't they?
but that's something
Well,
we
as
need
soon
to,
as they can.
Well, whatever, yes.
we need to take care of that, right? Thank you.
okay, thank you. So, looking to go into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Will we be making a decision on